afternoon on this Thursday, and there is breaking news in men's college basketball. In fact, down in Austin, Texas, where today the University of Texas informed head coach Chris Beard that he was terminated effective January the 5th. And we have the letter from UT and Chris Del Conte to Beard, in fact, saying all of what you would say normally in a termination letter. And reading that, and give you about 4 or 5 seconds to read it if you haven't yet or seen it yet. This to me, again, termination letters are never fun. But this to me, Craig and Paul, looked like one that was a little angry in a way, just the way it was worded. And I guess that's kind of what you have to do legally as well.
Well, I don't know. I hope I'm not reading into this, and we'll talk to Cedric Golden a little bit. But if you read on, and we'll have some of that in a second, but it does appear that the university was not too happy with the procedures of Chris Beard's lawyer over the time of this. It's very clear to me at this time that it was, totally on Chris Beard that had his fiance release a statement, and Texas probably didn't want that to happen because then that's something that we're going to have to try to walk back later as they got into this. But yeah, they did the right thing. I couldn't imagine any fashion of them moving forward because once you do that, once you say this time was okay, then if it happens again, or if it's happened before and you didn't necessarily know about it, you've got egg on your face and you can't ever really get it off.
Well, first I want to give props to Texas for making the move. I mean, they could have sat back and fought this or just gone quiet. It seemed like that's possibly what they were banking on doing. I mean, I do think that pre-Friday Christmas press release was a calculated, kind of PR move. And it made me wonder that if you weren't trying to hide anything and you weren't worried about the exposure or the coverage of it, why you would need to sneak that in there. But that is a move that, people releasing statements like that do make. So, it served its purpose as far as kind of chilling the conversation there for a while as everybody broke for Christmas and focused on, college football and the NFL. So that made me kind of scratch my head and think like, are they really going to try to maneuver their way around this? And certainly you give them allowance for, needing to take some time. I mean, I don't think anybody was there, with pitchforks and torches outside of, Chris Del Conte's home and like, he needs to be fired right now. I don't think anybody was like that. Everybody knew you kind of needed time to figure this thing out. But, the way that press release was dropped and I was like, maybe they are trying to figure out how they can keep him. But to their credit, they moved relatively swiftly and went ahead and finalized it today that they're going to be moving in a different direction. And so I give them credit for that. And that's not always, necessarily an easy thing to do, obviously. So good on them. And I think that, when it comes to his lawyer, I didn't like his behavior from the very get-go. When he came out, and I understand that lawyers have to do their jobs and to protect their clients and everything, but this guy was out there within hours of like the police report coming out saying Chris Beard's 100% innocent of these charges. He should never have been arrested. The complainant wants him released, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, like it just struck me at the time, not that I was seeing the future or anything, but it just struck me kind of weird and very like ambulance lawyer type of response in a way. And I just didn't get a good vibe off of that. And then you see some of these interactions that we'll look at in a second. And yeah, I'm not very impressed with Chris Beard's lawyer. I thought somebody with a lot of money would have had somebody like a bit better than the interactions I saw. But good on Texas.
I don't know.
I said.
Yeah, I don't know his history. I mean, I'm sure he's elite and getting paid a lot of money. He is defending his client, but I thought it was a little sleazy the way it was the initial part of it. Instead of like maybe, but then again, that's just probably the way it is to try to go out and defend your client if you can. I don't know enough about all that. This has been an ugly situation. I do agree with you, Paul and Craig, and also Paul, I'm sure you do as well, that even though there was time where you started to wonder, man, is this going to, like, they think this is going to go away? Listen, UT has always been someone that is watching what others do. They could not think that this was going to go away, and now today the trigger was pulled.
Yeah, and one of the questions that they were always going to have to answer when it came down to it was, based on what we read in the police report, which we all saw the day after it happened, okay, so she slapped your glasses off your face, and your claim is that it's self-defense, but you don't appear to be all that marked up. Did she slap your glasses off? And this is the University of Texas is asking this question. So when you felt the need to defend yourself, outside of her knocking your glasses off your face, did she do that with a bat? Did she point a gun at you? Did she try and stab you? Did she throw something at you? Or did you just respond violently to a situation that needed to be de-escalated? And I think we kind of know the answer to that. And so even if she's not going to press charges, you can't have a guy like this leading your basketball team. You just can't do it.
He's not anymore.
Yeah.
So there was the response. Texas's obviously letter to him from Chris Del Conte.
And to be very clear, on that Christmas Eve, that was not Chris Del Conte, unleashing that. That was, the woman coming out, and the timing of it was just very suspect. But it did make me wonder, because those two sides are at least talking. It made me wonder if that was a PR type of move because of when it was dropped. But that could have been entirely on the Chris Beard side of things. No, she's saying that it was mutual and blah blah blah. But that just that whole thing with her coming out and trying to basically play the victim in that statement, that left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I wondered after that of man, where is this headed? So I don't know what really happened. None of us do, other than those two, obviously. But I am, what's the right word here? Because thankful is not the right word, and happy is not really the right word either. But, yeah, I do appreciate that Texas made the move that they did, I guess.
Well, and so his attorney, of course, as Craig mentioned, and you would think that he had everything to do with the alleged victim's statement right on the eve of Christmas. This was... all this sounds as though I'm being pushy or fussy with you, Jim. I assure you that I am not. I want to understand. This is the attorney for Chris Beard to Texas. All I want to understand is why the university has changed course on its earlier stated position when the only developments since then have clearly been positive for Coach Beard and the university, perhaps referring to the alleged victim's letter. Moreover, I have been very grateful that Chris Del Conte has repeatedly reported to our team that he is certain that Chris Beard did nothing wrong and is innocent. I just do not understand the change of heart with no explanation on such short notice, particularly in light of the university's alignment and support that he is innocent. Texas responded to that with their own letter. It's very long and lengthy, but bottom line was they were trying to do what was right in the system, whether or not people believe that or not, by waiting to see what information they would have, and that any position that Chris Del Conte was showing as far as backing Chris Beard was him giving him the benefit of the doubt until further notice. But not all of the reports of Mr. Beard's behavior were retracted. It is his actual behavior that we consider, not whether some acts also constitute a crime. Whether or not the district attorney ultimately charges Mr. Beard is not determinative of whether he engaged in conduct unbecoming a head coach at our university.
Yeah, so go back to what I just said. So the incident, whether the legal system pursues it or not, this is not a legal matter at this point for the University of Texas. What they're saying is this is a character matter, and it falls under the auspices of firing for cause. And what Chris Del Conte may or may not have said to the team in the weeks right after is, again, just giving him the benefit of the doubt as the university, conducted its own investigation and found those things out. Because, again, there's far more questions if you bring him back than if you let him go for the university. And there's far more things you have to then watch out for and cover your bases on if they do. And outside of the morality of this, it just makes sense legally for them to move on because, you don't want an Urban Meyer, Zach Smith situation on your hands where you could have stopped something at one point and then you let it go and then it happens again and again.
So there's the back and forth between the legal people from either UT and or administration of UT, then also from his attorney who represents Chris Beard.
His attorney had another statement that came out a little while ago saying Chris Beard's crushed the news. He'll not be coaching at the University of Texas. At the outset of Coach Beard's suspension, the university promised they would conduct an independent investigation surrounding the allegations, make a decision regarding his employment only after they had done so. They proceeded to terminate Coach Beard without asking a single question of him or his fiancée. Since the arrest, they have only been positive developments, clearly demonstrating his innocence. Additionally, it is my opinion, shared by others, that any potential charges against Coach Beard will be declined very soon. This, in addition to the statements made by his fiancée that emphatically state that the original reports were inaccurate, I am concerned that UT has made a terrible decision against the interest of the university based on Twitter feeds and editorials and not the facts concerning a truly innocent man. The university has violated their agreement with the coach, and we are devastated. So that was his attorney after the latest round of back and forth, and he's maintaining innocence as you would expect him to. But I think that Texas, made a good move and, made a prudent move. And, we'll see in the wash if, there's anything else that stems from it. But, I don't know. I'm not like shocked or stunned or surprised, really. I mean, that they did something. I think just the timing of it, just kind of when there was just sort of this cut off of any sort of news really for the last week or so, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's fired, is a little bit surprising and kind of need to digest that a little bit, but very interesting stuff.
All right, so the chat room, a lot of